Well, hello, welcome to Take Five. It's the first week of March, and we're reading together this week through the Song of Songs, or the Song of Solomon. Perhaps one of the lesser familiar books of the Bible to us, but you probably know enough about the book to know that it is essentially a poem that is describing the passionate, romantic, intimate, sometimes slightly erotic love between a lover and his beloved. There have been a few different ways that this book has been interpreted throughout the history of the church. Lots of disagreement about it. You read lots of different views in lots of different books about how we should read it and how we should interpret it. The two main schools of interpretation have been, first, that this book is simply a poem celebrating and describing the relationship between a man and his wife, or a wife and her husband. That's what this poem is. It's just celebrating human love at its best. The other way that it's often been read throughout the history of the church is to think about it as describing the relationship between God and his people, or more particularly, the relationship between Jesus and his church. Now, again, there's lots of different discussions and debates about what the correct way to read it is, but for my money, I think we can read it in both ways. We can read it as describing marriage, romance, commitment, passion, but we can also read it from a higher level as describing something about the relationship that Jesus has with his church, and something about the way that Jesus feels about his church. Oftentimes, many times throughout the scriptures, the relationship between God and his people, Jesus and the church, is described using the language of marriage, right? Revelation 21 is the classic. The whole of history culminates in this marriage between Jesus and the church. And so I think we can read this poem in that way as well. And for me, I find it far more exciting to read it that way. But you can read it other ways, and some of what I share as we work through it together this week you might disagree with, and that's fine, no problem at all. Let's go this morning. This morning might be the morning for you, but it might not be. Whenever you're reading this, let's go to chapter 2, verse 16. This really is the heart of the book. It says, this is the woman speaking. It says, "My beloved is mine, and I am his." This phrase appears 3 times in the 8 chapters of this book. My beloved is mine, and I am his. And it's clearly the language of marriage, right? This is what we do when we get married. We stand at the altar. We make promises to one another before God and before our friends and family. And essentially, when we make those vows to one another, we're saying, I am yours and you are mine. I am yours and you are mine. That's what this woman is saying about her relationship with the man in this poem. I am my beloved's, and my beloved's is mine. This is the heart of the book, but in some ways we could say this is the heart of the whole Bible story as well. This is what God was moving towards throughout all of his acts in history. And we could say that this is the heart of the gospel as well. You know, the gospel, the good news of Jesus Christ, is about far more than Jesus coming to save us from hell, or even to save us from our sins. It is about that. Of course it is. And that's amazing and that's wonderful. But actually the gospel is far more, and far more profound and far more beautiful, because what happens in the gospel is that Jesus comes not just to save us from our sins, but he comes to make us one with him. In other words, Jesus comes to bind himself to his people. The way we do in a marriage, we become one with one another. We promise to be faithful to one another and never forsake one another. That's what the gospel is. It's God sending his son so that he could bind himself to us forever so that we could become one with him. So essentially, we can actually say with this woman in the Song of Songs to Jesus, we can say, I am my beloved's, and my beloved's is mine. I am my beloved's, and my beloved's is mine. I don't know what that might mean for you today, to remember that, to reflect on that, to meditate upon it. But I have an inkling that makes me feel like we don't think about that enough. We don't really think about the idea that Jesus has made himself one with us, that we are one with him, that we can say, I am my beloved's, and my beloved's is mine. I wonder if you got a few moments today, if you could just take some time to think about just those few words, I am my beloved's, and my beloved's is mine. Think about what that might mean for you, or what that should mean for you. The fact that Jesus has made us one with him is a profound truth with far, far reaching consequences. And I think it would do us all well just to take a few moments today to reflect on these few words from the Song of Songs. I am my beloved's, and my beloved's is mine. See you again tomorrow. Take care.